Lost my phone. Hello, I'm actually ringing because I do suffer from sleeplessness and I need to unwind. I'm not suicidal, so don't worry about that, but I'm a mental health patient under the mental health system, and basically after what can only be described as abuse for many years, I feel I've gone forward with two particular workers from the mental health system who basically are treating things from a different point of view than I have been. And it's not sympathy that they're showing, it's support and it's positive. I've recently had, my previous care coordinator was wonderful, and she did recognise that I needed a lot of talking therapy, but there isn't anybody in the role, and I am on the waiting list, I believe, for counselling. Now, at the moment, there is nobody in the role for this talking therapy, which my previous but one care coordinator, perceptively decided I needed, otherwise I would blow up. Now, I've been using the crisis line for this, and they've been wonderfully supportive, and for bizarre reasons which I don't need to go into, I'm under the Blackpool crisis line and I live in Burnley. It's the relationship broke down with the local team after one of the members did something that really would offend anybody, and basically I had the manager of the team arranged to come up on Easter Monday a couple and a half years ago, arranged by me then care coordinator Chris Harper, who he arranged for her to come up on Easter Monday, and mysteriously, with no behaviour problems as witnessed by 22 confused neighbours who didn't know what the motives of the doctor who came in absolutely trembling, as witnessed by these 20 neighbours, and the police were over her to say, what the hell are they doing? I didn't see anything wrong. And while this was going on, my behaviour was leaving a row to happen in the back room between three people, all of whom could have nicked an Armani watch off my dressing table, a very expensive one, which never got resolved. The rule was I was sectioned, I couldn't speak to the police anymore, and this watch never got recovered. I found out who'd nicked it afterwards. She admitted it in a rant when she fell out with one of the other possible thieves, but I now know who it was, but I didn't recover it because I was quite unreasonably sectioned 3 days before this manager was due to come up and explain the actions of a member of staff who actually thought it suitable to laugh about my stepdaughter hanging herself over the crisis line. Now, I got sectioned 3 days before this explanation with no behaviour problems, and I started, the explanation was that I was ringing the crisis line up too much. The reason I was ringing the crisis line up too much was because my best friend, she's now 30, and I'm 59, and she used to be my daughter's best mate, but she's sort of drifted into being my best mate, and she is so close that her boyfriend's asked me to walk her down the aisle for him, and she told me that she'd been raped when she was 13 by somebody who was my school years best friend. He was in my class at school, his brother, we went to school together, we ate together, and I lived at their house when my dad died and my mother flipped for a couple of years, and it was this 60-odd-year-old who raped my mate when she was 13 after playing her with Carlin, and my head collapsed. I lost my temper. My temper was questioned at Pendle House, and I was passed to the lowest intensity team, the recovery team, after being deemed perfectly safe and being able to deal with it myself. Now, pardon. Well, I just picked up the phone. Threatened to kill him and put the phone down on. He rang back. I ignored it, and she asked me to do nothing. And when my anger was questioned, you know, they were wondering what we were going to do. Are you going to do anything? I said, no, I'm going to respect her wishes. She doesn't want me to do anything. She's my best mate. And I was passed back to the recovery team, the lowest intensity team, and it wasn't a problem. And that was the end of that. But it's done me head in. And I need counselling. All that, you know, the fact that he's going to get away with it, and, you know, and my friend, when she was 16, she's always looked over her age. She was on a club street called Hamilton Street in Burnley. Somebody come on to her a bit too strong when she was drunk. Shouldn't have been drunk at 16, but she was, and it happens. But he come on a bit strong, and they was only trying to kiss her. And he ended up with 63 stitches in his face, and she did 12 months in the Young Offenders Institute, and I blame him for that. You know, because I'd known her since she was 11. She'd been... Pardon?
The young lady that was raped?
Yeah. She ended up with somebody... somebody come on when she was drunk, you know. She had these associations. He ended up with 63 stitches in his face, and that's why, because I blame him for that, and I just completely went on these spirals. But I saw the change in her retrospectively when she told me about it, because, you know, and, you know, it was that, and that he was saying disgusting, denigrating things about her personality, and, you know, this is the person that treats me better than anybody has ever treated me on earth. You know, she had a problem when she falls out with her boyfriend. She offered to buy me a car to pick up her kids. I arranged to have my work pattern changed to finish half an hour earlier so I could pick up her kids from work, because she was stuck and she worked. You know, there's nothing that we won't do for each other. But, you know, there's nothing sexual. You know, we're worlds apart in that way. You know, she's always the centre of attention, and good luck to her. I'm not jealous of that. She's an outgoing personality. I see her on the dance floor. She's the only person you notice, but, you know, she's beautiful. She's 6 foot tall, and I'm 5'5" and 30-odd years older than her, so there is nothing in that respect. We're just very, very close mates as friends, even though we are so different. You know, we're never going to be a partnership, so that's not going to happen, and neither of us want to. We just want to be mates. But it gutted me, the fact that it were her, and somebody that I was supposed to trust. You know, I lived at that family house. Now, I got sectioned for ringing the crisis line up too much. What was happening was, I was ringing them up and they were slamming down on the phone on me. And it took 7 months to get a friend. And frequently, she's called Heather Tierney, a very, very similar name to Heather Tierney Moore, the chief executive of the North West Trust, but without the hyphen Moore. And to prove it, she lives in BB12, and she's got a court record that you need to email and get into, but she's on there without doing that as reference C court cases. And I think it's something like putting recycling out in with a dustbin or something stupid like that. But this is Heather Tierney, who said my words 3 at a time after 7 months of getting the phone slammed down on me. she got my words over 3 at a time, but they wouldn't listen to my voice. I got the phone slammed down on me for 7 months. Then when we got this across to somebody called Sarah, somebody else's voice, and it shouldn't have been that, another 5 months of getting the phone slammed down on me. There was no communication. And I got sectioned, and then I got sectioned again to identify my problem, but they wouldn't listen to what it was. Then I got sectioned again for telling the assistant manager of the crisis line what the first 2 reasons was. Then I got sectioned again for telling a doctor who the paedophile rapist was. And the dad of the sectioning doctor, the dad of the rapist, who was basically the fellow who was a second dad to me, and that guts me as well, because I just disappeared out of their lives, and they used to do the garden 7 days a week after work. They were more my family than my mother was, because she flipped. They were parents to me, and I just disappeared out of their life without explanation when they told me that. Now, he's recently died, as this doctor, and I got sectioned for naming the paedophile rapist, who was the son of a doctor that the sectioning doctor knew. And the other 2 times I was sectioned, doesn't matter. That's how unjust it is. And I've been locked up, I'm 59, for almost the best part of 3 years. And I don't have a police record. Now, I seem to have been sectioned for being me. And, it must be illegal to be me. But anyway, it's going to court, because when I was on a ward called Ward 18 in Burnley General Hospital, and they didn't record the force used, I've got 20 witnesses that said, that saw a nursing assistant who's like, I have to guess about 6'4", around 5'5", and he's twice the size of me. He came over with a menacing look on his face. So, as a joke, and my sense of humour is known, I walked up to him and said, Dave, the staff are bullying me. Everybody saw me going in the dormitory laughing and coming out unconscious. I got to the bowling unit in Blackpool with head injuries and what I thought were a broken arm, which I don't know it were done, because I was unconscious at the time. Now, pardon?
How are you feeling at the moment?
Well, only 5 psychotic diagnoses have been taken away, but it took Parkwood to do that. The Burnley lot have thrown them on me and not taken them away. I've had 5 psychotic diagnoses, all of which have been taken away. Now, I have been told by an individual, and I won't name her because I respect this person, under pain of death I won't name her, because it'll wreck her career, but I have named her to the investigating policeman with a guarantee of a protection that they were told to do it. Now, I'm hoping whoever told them to do it will come out in court, because some of these people are going down, and they deserve to. I was hit over the head with an hammer from the side. I was knocked out, and they didn't record the force use. Now, they called this restraint. The restraint was basically for jokingly, but it was true, and everybody saw it was true, telling a nursing assistant that I was being bullied by the staff. And I was. But it didn't get to me, and the paranoid diagnosis has been taken away. Now they're asking me what my diagnosis is. They don't know. So I'm telling them, quite rightly I think so, and I've diagnosed myself, but I'm not qualified, as having post-traumatic stress disorder. And I'm being treated for chronic stress after having been on medication for psychosis and bipolar and everything. But I don't have it. I don't have those diagnoses. But I take it religiously, because my stepdaughter hanged herself when she came out of her own accord, so I'm not risking that. Yeah, I take it.
Are you feeling suicidal today?
No, I never feel suicidal, but I just need to unwind to get rid of the stress. And basically, some of the health team are what I might call politically oppressive in the way that they see it as an us and them against patients. But I never get this at the Blackpool crisis line. They're always supportive, let me speak, don't contradict me, don't challenge me. They have a wonderful way of letting me talk with patients, and the Blackpool team, and when I was on the PICO unit where I arrived with head injuries, they just said, we take no notice of your notes, because the notes can't have been correct, because it's illegal what they did, so they can't have written the truth down, but we're not taking notice of that, we see you as you, we'll find out what we find. And I must admit, I went in a bad mood when I got there, because wouldn't you if you got hit over the head with an hammer and had your head slammed on the floor and thought you had a broken arm? And they didn't give me an x-ray, and there was no doctor involved in the decision to send me to Bowland, and there was no doctor involved in the decision to give me the big blue tablet they give me to knock me out that I don't know where it is and can't find out, and the 2 paracetamol that I was given for what I thought was a broken arm, which I don't know if it did, because as I say, I was unconscious. But, you know, whoever did it...
Did it help you?
Pardon?
Did it help you, that big blue tablet?
Well, it knocked me out. I was unconscious. They put me in an unmarked van, driven by somebody who worked at Blackburn Hospital. They woke me up from being unconscious from in a room called 136, which is the name of a room as well as the name of a sectioning. And I walked to the van, then they were unconscious again. And it took 12 hours. There was a 12-hour time difference while I was unconscious between arriving at the Bowling unit at lunchtime the next day and midnight when I set off, according to the patients at Burnley. Now, I don't know what happened in that 12 hours. I didn't exist for all I'm concerned, almost. And none of my family knew where I were for that 12 hours, and the patients were told it was confidential what happened. Nobody knew where I was, except these people. Pardon? I thought I had a broken arm and head injuries. No. But they treated me well at Bowling Unit where I arrived, and they're the people that said, we're not taking any notice of your notes. We'll find you as you are. And they did, and they treated me wonderfully. And from a PICO unit, I was allowed 4 hours on the company leave down Blackpool by myself within about 4 days, because they trusted me. They realised this were a lot of rubbish on my notes. And I got a diagnosis in 1980 by Dr. Maidner from Lamont Clinic in Burnley, the psychiatrist at Burnley, who wasn't a psychiatrist, he was a GP, bumped up as a psychiatrist, but he was cheap. He saw patients very, very quickly and badly, and he actually filled my arm full of smack and sexually assaulted me, as he did with a lot of young male patients, and gave him a diagnosis to cover himself for paranoid schizophrenia, so they wouldn't be believed. But I successfully sued him, and he went to prison for doing this to a lot of people and hanged himself. This doctor. And this has compounded my history. I'm coping by speaking to the wonderful people at Blackpool on the phone, and this is the first time I've rung the Samaritans for a long time, and I'm finding it therapeutic to get out of my system, so I need to talk about it, as my previous care coordinator, one care coordinator, recognised that I need intensive talking therapy, but there's nobody in the role to do it. So I'm using the Blackpool crisis line, because I can't use the local one because they've got so much discrimination against me. Now, there are exceptions to this. I spoke to somebody called Jackie Ashcroft. He's absolutely a fantastic nurse on the local crisis line. And there's somebody called Stacey who's fantastic. And somebody called Anne who's brilliant, and there are a lot of new ones since I last spoke to them, and they all seem nice, but there are one or two are sort of intimidated by me because they don't understand the fact that I'm justified in thinking that I've been locked up as a punishment and not as a therapy, for asking this woman to explain this to the member of her staff for laughing at my stepdaughter hanging herself. And it was her colleagues that sectioned me. 3 days before she was due to come up. Now, I never got this explanation. I wrote to her from the Conway ward, and one question was that never got answered in the letter as she replied to me. I asked her, "You've got it so wrong, allow me to do briefings free of charge every shift change." Now, these people should be intelligent enough to recognise what is sensible and not sensible about what I'm saying, and I don't mind somebody co-briefing them. But I know that this woman that laughed at my stepdaughter claims that she was on the phone to me an hour. My phone bill says she wasn't. So when Kaylee, my stepdaughter, jumped over the banister after a crisis line phone call with a rope round her neck, am I supposed to have confidence in their accuracy, the way they recorded it? And when I was on Ward 18, it was Kaylee's inquest week. And with the social worker, Patrick O'Brien, an Irish social worker, and Paul Hayworth, the ward manager, now, they agreed that I could make far more phone calls because it was my stepdaughter's inquest week while I was in hospital. Wonderful. Now, when I asked for my third phone call, which I was entitled to as any patient, not as my extra ones, I got told, "No, you get 2, same as everybody else, but everybody else gets 3. Now, this ward manager, Paul Hayworth, he said, when he swung a pool cue at me, the thick end of it, in front of 22 patients as witnesses. I said, "Paul, there's 20 odd witnesses to that." And then a nursing assistant called Stuart Crossley, I think that's his last name, but he's called Stuart, a skinhead who talks about fascism in front of Asians. Now, he swung another pool cue straight away after, and they both would have hit me, but I moved my head out of the way. I said, "There's like 20 odd witnesses to this." And like the manager's answer was, "They're all mentally ill. They won't be witnesses." And I said, "I think it's rubbing off on you, Paul." And he dragged me to my bed space with a gang of goons, as he described them, it's in the dictionary, and took me to my bed space, pinned me down and gave me a jab and wouldn't tell me what the jab was. And, he did it deliberately painfully, I'm sure. Otherwise, he's not fit to give jabs if he didn't. And, he says he can't remember in the reply I got from Editing anymore when the Care Quality Commission written her. Well, if he can't remember, it's normal to him and he shouldn't be working on there. Or, if he can't remember, he should be on the sick. And he should be, whether or not, if this isn't an illness, he's a sick man anyway for doing that. Now, there are 20 odd witnesses to this. There's a regime of fear on Ward 18. That's how it's run. It's not like that at Blackpool. I've got comparisons of Blackpool was fantastic, and when I was called in on the community treatment order by a doctor who's on the sick, and he has left the country, it was outrageous what he wrote. Pardon? Well, I'm constantly in touch with the Blackpool crisis team, but it's my wish that if I do go into the hospital, it's going to Blackpool, and certainly not Ward 18, where I believe I've had an attempted murder on me.
So you're allowed to call Blackpool crisis as many times as you want, but you're not allowed to call your local one?
The local team are incompetent.
Right.
The local team are incompetent. They cut me off, don't let me talk, contradict me, challenge me, and there's one woman tells me to go to bed at 9 o'clock. Now, when I ring up, she's no patience, she's irresponsible, she won't face a job, and when I was working for August for 28 years, till Nelson shut down about 3 years ago, I was working off 3.5 hours sleep a night, and I was fine. I don't need a full night's sleep, and I certainly can't go to bed at 9 o'clock because I haven't finished my medication. Now,
Have you taken your medication tonight?
I've got one more to take. I've been at the hospital for...
Say that one.
I'm taking it about 20 to 1, because the reason being, I took my other one at 20 to 9 because I've been at the hospital for a cancer check. I've had cancer a couple of times today, and I didn't get back till 20 to 9. And you can't take them within 4 hours, so I'm on the plot for that one. But I don't miss them, and that's my Depakote. Talking, yeah, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. As my previous but one care coordinator, Susie, brilliantly perceived, I would blow up if I didn't get talking therapy, and that's why I'm making this phone call. And she, you know, she knew that. And I got another care coordinator because I was passed on from the amber team to the red team, not because I've become more ill, by Susie, because I was demanding too much time and I didn't have the resources. But I didn't get the resources from the red team. I'm on a waiting list that lasts forever for counselling, so it hasn't done any good. And the manager of the red team, Alison, has overruled 4 consultants, having never met me, and let me down 100% of the time I've contacted her. When I've passed on messages, she's promised to ring me twice, and has twice let me down, so she's let me down 100% of the time, and is empire building by saying I should be on the red team, but she's never met me. And she's overruled 4 consultants who don't want me on the on the red team because of the damage she's done to me. Now, this is Dr. Hahn at Blackburn, he has been at Burnley, Dr. Sammy at Blackpool, and it's not the same Sammy that's at Burnley, Dr. Martin at I think, what's he called? Dr. Martin at Blackpool, and the consultant on Conway Ward. It was a brilliant consultant, but his name slips me. Now, and this is, you know, something that is part of the NHF, whose mandate says everyone counts. Well, obviously I don't. And it seems to be legal to do that. I've written to Edith Teeny Moore, the chief executive of the trust. She's failed to protect a disabled person twice, because I've written to her before this attempted murder happened. And the police are involved. I've got a police investigating officer, a crime number. I'm making a video statement because there's a chance I might be unreasonably sectioned again for being me. Yeah. But it has helped me talking, and it does. And this is the only way I can get treatment, apart from the Blackpool time. And you know they've got other duties to do. They can't spend 24 hours a day talking to me as much as I would like them to. No, and I know you can't, but it does help doing it bit by bit, if you know what I mean. But it's the best way that I've found of getting rid of what is now. I've diagnosed myself as having chronic stress, and they don't disagree with me. And I'm allowed to choose my own medication now. I've prescribed my own medication. Well, I'm allowed to choose my own, but by a consultant, and I'm not qualified because I've lost them so much. They don't know what they're doing with me. They've had a meeting at Pendle House wondering how to manage me. Guess what they did? They didn't ask me. They didn't ask me there, and they should have done. And they're talking about how to manage me, and they didn't ask my opinion. It's wonderful. Anyway, thanks a lot. Thanks for being there. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Right, I want to quit. Just a minute.